Welcome back to another Explainer. I've got to say, I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're diving into a text that presents a completely mind-bending paradigm shift. We're going to explore an essay by an author named Xu Feng, and it completely shatters our conventional ideas about karma, wealth, poverty, and morality. Whether you're approaching this as theology, philosophy, or honestly just a really fascinating thought experiment, this framework is absolutely going to challenge how you view every single interaction in your daily life. We've got a great setup to map all this out, so get ready for a completely different perspective on what it actually means to be rich.
Okay, let's just jump right in. We're starting off with one of the most universally recognized quotes about wealth in human history. Most of us, regardless of our personal backgrounds, are pretty familiar with this idea. Traditional theology and mainstream societal ethics have almost always framed material wealth as a heavy spiritual burden and poverty as something closer to spiritual purity or humility, right? For centuries, the baseline assumption has been that the kingdom of heaven inherently belongs to the poor or the marginalized. Now, hold that thought in your mind, because the source material we are analyzing today takes this foundational assumption and just completely shatters it.
And here is the shocking inversion. In his 2017 text, Xu Feng writes the exact opposite. The poor cannot enter into heaven. It creates this immediate cognitive dissonance, doesn't it? Even the author himself acknowledges that this sounds miserable, maybe even cruel. He actually says it feels like putting a knife right into the hearts of the poor. But he argues that concealing this truth would make him a liar. So to understand how he arrives at such a startling conclusion, we have to solve this philosophical mystery together. We have to figure out exactly how he's defining these words.
So to make sense of this theology, we move into Section 1, Redefining Wealth, a New Paradigm. We basically have to completely abandon our everyday dictionary definitions of wealth.
If you're thinking about bank accounts, stock portfolios, or the car sitting in your driveway, you need to set all those metrics aside. This entire framework relies on a radical redefinition of what it means to be rich or poor. Here, wealth is entirely reframed as an energetic flow. It's an action, not an asset. According to the author, the absolute most distinctive feature of a poor person is that they take. They consume, they absorb, and they accumulate debt. The defining feature of a rich person, on the other hand, is that they give, they produce, they offer, and they remain debt-free in the grand scheme of the universe. In this system, your financial bank balance literally means nothing. It's your karmic ledger that dictates your status. You can really see how this totally flips societal norms upside down when we look at two vivid archetypes. Think about a billionaire. Society calls him rich, of course, but if he is heavily leveraged, constantly taking resources from society, exploiting labor, and accumulating energetic debts, well, Xu Feng categorizes him as strictly poor. Now contrast that with a farmer living in a distant village. Society calls him poor, but if he has no debts, and he gives selflessly to his community and tends to nature, he is, by this definition, truly rich.
So, if money isn't the only currency, what actually is wealth? Well, the text outlines three specific categories of wealth that society and nature actually need. First up is soul wealth. That's anything that brings peace, serenity, and calmness to other people's minds. Second is spiritual wealth. Actions or words that encourage others, cheer them on, and just spark a passionate enthusiasm for life. And third is material wealth, which is providing the practical conveniences of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. If you are generating these things for others, you're accumulating true wealth.
And that builds right into Section 2, 3 types of debt, understanding deficit, because just as there are 3 types of wealth to be given, there are 3 distinct types of debt that can be taken.
The fundamental rule in this universe is pretty stark. Taking equals debt. The author argues that a person who takes constantly is continuously sinning and just digging themselves deeper and deeper into a hole. As long as you take and owe, you are mathematically categorized as poor, regardless of your intentions. Let's break down exactly what kinds of debts trap people in this cycle.
First up is economic debt. Now this one is the most familiar to us, but the text stretches it way beyond just money. Yes, it includes unreturned bank loans, but it also includes borrowing items without returning them, causing damage without compensating the owner, or even receiving favors, services, or a free meal without ever repaying your host. Every single unreciprocated material action adds a negative tally to your karmic ledger.
Second is emotional debt, and honestly, this is where the framework gets incredibly demanding. Think about the care you got from your grandparents, the love from your parents, the guidance from a teacher or a mentor, or the support of a friend or a spouse. In this system,
Even receiving love and mentorship acts as an energetic debt. You didn't earn that care, it was just given to you. Therefore, you owe the universe a return on that emotional investment. Wild, right?
Finally, capping off the rule of 3 is spiritual debt, and this one is massive. According to the text, simply enjoying the sun on your face, breathing the air, drinking water, and having the sheer pleasure of experiencing the splendid, kaleidoscopic world puts your soul into spiritual debt to the Creator or the universe. Just existing and consuming natural resources means you are running a tab that eventually has to be paid.
I mean, if just breathing the air and being loved by your parents puts you in debt, how on earth do you avoid being categorized as poor? How do you ever pay it back? That brings us to Section 3, Mechanics of Giving, Paying It Back.
The text actually provides a really clear roadmap for clearing your ledger. The beauty of this system, at least as the author presents it, is that giving isn't just financial. It can be intellectual, ideological, or, honestly, incredibly simple. You can pay back your cosmic debt by offering a sweet smile. You can pay it back by making others happy, by bringing people hope, or by actively protecting nature from damage. Literally any dedication of your energy to others or to the environment counts as a payment against your debt.
Now, while a smile is great, the text does identify a true pinnacle of devotion. Shufeng points to the Buddhist concept of formless almsgiving, originally taught by Buddha Sakyamuni, as the most valuable and significant type of giving. Broadly speaking, this refers to giving purely, without any attachment to the gift, the receiver, or the ego of being the giver. It's giving without keeping score, which, ironically, is the best way to balance your cosmic score.
And all of this leads us to the grand conclusion of the author's theology in Section 4, the Karmic Ledger Final Calculation. All of these daily actions, every smile given, every favor taken, every ray of sunlight enjoyed, they are all being tallied up. And the final calculation determines the ultimate destination of the soul. So the crucial point here is this incredibly strict mathematical equation. The author calls it the law of gravitation of life. The core rule is that the sum of positive and negative energies must always equal 0. The universe demands absolute balance. You cannot cheat the math. Your final tally dictates exactly where you end up next.
This cause and effect relationship basically plays out in 3 distinct ways. First, if you give more than you take, you run a surplus. You are rich and your destination is heaven. Second, if you take more than you give, you run a deficit. You are poor and your destination is hell. Third, if you give exactly equally to what you take, achieving perfect neutrality, you will continue your reincarnation right here in the mortal world. It is a stark, totally rigid accounting system.
And the text offers a pretty severe warning for anyone who stays in a deficit. Because the poor, those who only have nothing to give or pay back, they cannot enter heaven. Instead, the author states they will fall downward within the 6 great divisions in the Wheel of Karma, specifically reincarnating into the animal level. It's a heavy, unyielding consequence for living a life of consumption rather than contribution.
The source material wraps up with this really passionate final plea from the author. All the poor must awake and watch. It's meant to be a wake-up call, urging readers to recognize their hidden debts, the emotional, the spiritual, the economic ones, and immediately change their behaviors from taking to giving before that ledger is finalized.
We've looked at the rules, the definitions, and the ultimate consequences of this totally fascinating, challenging text. It literally redefines everything society teaches us about success and failure. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with the question that really demands some deep self-reflection. Based strictly on your energetic flow, what you give versus what you take from society, your loved ones, and nature, in this framework, are you rich or are you poor? Think about that the next time you step out into the sun. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.